That's a mean shot. You take a lick like that?
Yes, sir. More than once. More than once.
There's the hand, and then there's the bat. One reason why Carter wears a helmet, thank goodness. 1-2. Squirts it foul up along third.
Then you talk about liking the ball up, and it's true. Most guys do really like the ball up because they can see it better. And I've heard all kinds of pitching theories why you should pitch down. Kurt Simmons had one. He said that you should pitch down because if the bat was at the knees, then you'd pitch up. That's where the action is, where the bat is. It's a little left-handed theory, but then again, pitchers come up with them. I know pitchers say throw it down the middle. High balls hit over it, and low ball hitters will swing under it.
He came to play, didn't he, or at least to watch. 2-2. Foul ball. Though Rich still up there, he's been beating that right leg to pieces, so he's wearing that little plastic shin guard. Of course, that's a sign of a big league hitter anyway. If he's going to foul a ball, it's going to be off the front foot, the front leg. Certainly not the back leg. If your bat is that late, you're not in the big leagues. 2-2. Fifth inning, no runs, 2 hits for each side. The Sox have been a little quiet. They've had 1 chance. That was in the 4th inning. And that takes care of Rich.
That was way out of the strike zone. Looked like that forkball or split finger fastball.
So that's 5 strikeouts for Darling to match Hurst's 5. And the batter will be Dave Henderson.
Center fielder.
Take another look at it.
Henderson.
Good spot. He missed it by a good foot.
And again, you see that left hand not on the bat. That's the theory, part of the theory. Now, you're not swinging the bat one-handed. You're letting go after you've made contact, if you're lucky.
But every hitter, and Riniak preaches that, every hitter can't adjust to that. The hitter, it's like a puzzle. You have to fit that final piece, and the hitter has to be receptive. Gedman is, Evans is, a lot of hitters. Buckner, yeah, he changed. That's the 3rd one.
You know, Buckner said in spring training of '85 when he first started, he hit about .020, and all of the Red Sox were concerned. They thought, hey, he's finished. What's going on? And he said, no, just stay with me. And of course, he's had big years now.
I tell you, we get to Fenway. If Ted Williams is there, get in a discussion about that theory with him.
Can I get to the booth?
Oh, brother.
1-1 to Dave Henderson. He's got a sore right knee, but as you can see, he's playing. Tony Armas says that the ankle he hurt in the LCS is okay and he could play. There's Tony. However, John McNamara has opted for Dave Henderson. 2-1. Hit right by the mound and whistled into center. So Hendu comes up with a base hit. He's 1 for 2, and that's 3 hits off Darling, and it'll bring up Spike Owen with 1 out.
For the sake of completing the thought, Ben, I just want to say, so nobody misunderstands it, Ted Williams is not a proponent of the Charlie Lau theory.
I wouldn't think so.
I just didn't want any doubt about that.
When Carter goes to Fenway Park, it will be almost blasphemy to call him the kid. I mean, you can't call anybody the kid in Fenway.
There's only one kid.
That's right. Only one. In Boston. Well, here's Spike. The biggest game that Spike had this year when he scored 6 runs in a game. The only other American League player to accomplish that, ironically, was Johnny Pesky, who played for Boston.
There's that good move. He got it too high.
Take a look at it.
Watch him put something on it when he comes over there. Comes set, and I mean, it's almost like he's pitching.
That's what we were saying at the start of the game. Every runner in the National League knows all about the fake, phony, commercial move. They know Darling's got a good one. Ball 1. 1-0. That's all part of his pattern. Owen looking down to Rene Latchman to see if Latch might put on a play. They have a feeling that there might be a hit and run play on, and Henderson looks like he's braced and at the ready.
Well, you got a combination up there, and obviously he'd like to at least stay away from the double play to get the pitcher up there.
For John McNamara, after managing in the American League, this is really a jolt. Foul back. In other words, John managed in the National League at San Diego and Cincinnati. But John has to be thinking as an American League manager, and then all of a sudden they say, now you're a National League manager. You have to send your pitcher up to hit, and you have to think about pinch hitters and taking them out of the game.
Davey Johnson, before the game, talking about that, he says the adjustment's going to be tougher on McNamara than it will be on him.
Yeah, having a DH is kind of a walk in the park. 1-1. The count is Spike Owen. We're in the top of the 5th inning. And that first game philosophy has held up so far. It's in the hands of the pitchers, albeit cold hands, Ron Darling and Bruce Hurst.
There it was again. I'll tell you, Henderson just better not think about anything else but watching him, because with that move, you can't leave a wake-up call. You have to do it yourself. He about had him. If he gets a little bit on the right side, just a tad, he would have nailed him.
1 ball and 1 strike to Spike Owen. And Hendu fakes, and the ball is hit down the right field line, foul and out of play. Another change of role, of course, is for Spike Owen. During the regular year, Spike had 9 sacrifices. He's a good bunter. But when you have the pitcher coming up behind you, that takes a weapon away. Certainly at Shea, not at Fenway. 1-2 the count. 1 out, 5th inning. No runs, 3 hits for the Sox. No runs, 2 hits for the Mets. Dave Henderson. We said he had a tender right knee, but he looks like he's in the mood to do some running. Two and 2. Again, we repeat, the Red Sox had the fewest number of stolen bases in the major leagues for the 4th straight year.
Henderson really giving Latchman a long extra look, and those are the kind of things that when you're watching the base runner, the flag goes up. You say, uh-oh, be careful.
1 out. Watching Darling, totally uninhibited as far as throwing to first base. There is a Mets pitcher during the series, we might see it, who hates to throw to first. Hit in the air, and Lenny Dykstra's right there. 2nd out, and back to first goes Henderson.
Then with Hurst coming up, they got him with fastballs. They didn't even fool around. And I just wonder if that's what they're going to continue to do, because when they asked Davey Johnson about it, he said, we're going to give him gas.
You know, I'd like to conclude the thought. At the same time, I don't want to get into a scouting report. There is a Mets pitcher who doesn't like to throw to first. And during the series, if he's pitching, we'll have Keith Hernandez watched particularly closely. And you will see Hernandez actually gesture to him, throw me the ball. Only because the pitcher doesn't like to go over there. 0-1 to count. Remember Bruce Hurst, first major league at bat, struck out. And here he is again. 0-1. 1 ball, 1 strike. I don't think it's right that I should mention the pitcher's name. I think I'm getting into dead waters, and it's not the point anyway. We just want to talk about throwing to first.
Before the game, Hurst walked through with 2 bats, and somebody asked me if he was looking for the plug.
1-1. Strike. Good eye. I can hear him saying, what a time to swing the bat. I have to pitch at Shea. I have to come to the plate in the World Series. Henderson at first, 2 out, 5th inning, no score. Want to see if his top hand comes off the bat?
I just want to see his body stay in the batter's box. I'll tell you, it's tough to ask a guy who hasn't hit all year He's like for 0 for 10 years has been his slump because he hadn't had the opportunity, and here he is.
And with the bases loaded. All right, Bruce, nice swing. Way to go. Good eye. Isn't that what they say in the bench? Half a dozen strikeout. Hang in there. And at the end of 4½, no score. Darling will start it off. Darling struck out in the 3rd inning.
Before that pitch, Vin, Hurst had made 76 pitches, 48 strikes, 28 balls, 10 of 17 first pitches for strikes.
And there's a drive into the alley in left center. Coming over, however, to handle it is Dave Henderson. So Darling, who, as we mentioned, is a pretty good hitter, hit that hard enough, but Hendu ran it down. 1 away.
They'll give him a chance to get to the bench as we watch this. He really breaks into the hole in good shape, Henderson, and really has to wait for it as it dies. Now, we told the people how much Minuet paid for Manhattan.
Yep.
Who's the pitcher?
What, who doesn't like to throw
Who
to
doesn't
first?
like to throw to first base?
What am I going to get?
$24.
And a picture of you in uniform?
Yeah, in uniform.
That'll
Cardinals.
clinch the deal. Okay. Here's Mookie Wilson. Sid Fernandez hates to throw to first, the left-hander, the happy, pleasant, good-natured Hawaiian. There he is. And Keith actually has to gesture. Come here, come over to me.
That's not really new. I'm telling you, we had a pitcher at Pittsburgh. When they asked him why he didn't throw it, he gave a great reason. He said, I don't want to expose my bad move.
Okay. 1-1, ball 2. I know the scouting report years ago on Kurt Simmons was that he hated to throw to first. So you'd think a left-hander would find it very easy.
But if you have a bad move, why show it to him?
That's right. 3-1. Well, if one thing, the Red Sox might or might not try to exploit a pitcher who doesn't like to throw to first, since running is not that much a part of their game. Hit to right field. Evans fading, and Dewey is there. So 2 down in the 5th inning. No score. And the batter will be Len Dykstra.
Here's what Dykstra does to a ball club. Now, there are 2 outs. Nothing has happened yet. And you say to yourself when he walks up there, even with 2 outs, he might bunt to try to get something started. So he gets you thinking. He's already pulled Wade Boggs in close at 3rd. So he's got you thinking before he gets in that batter's box, and that's always a plus for your ball club when you got a guy like that.
He is listed at 5'10", but there are those who tell you he's 5'8" on his toes. But when you see a kid like Dykstra, you remember that old line about little guys must prove they can play. Big guys have to prove they can play. That's right. Well, he has proven he can play.
I tell you, I've seen it. I've seen little guys hit the ball over the fence 4 or 5 times in batting practice or tryout camp. They'll say, I'd like to see him do that again. Some big donkey will get up to pop it up and say, boy, if he ever gets a hold of one, look out.
That's right. 0-2. He's listed at about 160 pounds. Ball 1. When he hit that home run against Dave Smith to win the game and set this place on its ear. He had that great line, did it ever happen to you before? And he said, yeah, playing with my brother in a game called Stratomatic, where you roll the dice and then whatever the dice show, you make that play off a card. Deuce is wild on Dykstra. Bottom of the 5th, no score. Foul back. Bruce Hurst comes into this game in good shape. He's had 5 complete games in his last 7 starts, and he has put up good numbers, especially the 5 strikeouts.
Well, that game he pitched against Toronto in Fenway was just a great game to clinch it.
2-2. Got him. So that's 6 strikeouts for Bruce Hurst. The Mets go quietly, and at the end of 5, no score.
For a pitcher and catcher, there's always a game within a game. Here's Boggs against Darden his last time up. Boggs programs himself. Will he be right or wrong? Takes the fastball strike. Takes the fastball strike. And if you're looking all in the same spot, low and outside, they get him. So obviously they made up their mind. We're not going to give him any off-speed pitches, and the fastball is going to be low and away. And that time they got him. And that's the best hitter in the American League. He led it.
Look at that, only 46 swinging strikes.
He takes that first pitch with the theory that, and it's really one that's been around. Take the first pitch. If it's a strike, you know they're going to come back with it, and if it's a ball, you're ahead of the pitcher.
He's got happy thoughts on his mind, as well as the World Series. His wife Debbie is great with child, and they will name the baby Brett. The godfather will be George Brett. Ball one.
Split finger.
The last American League batting champion to appear in a World Series before Boggs was George Brett. Comebacker, and Darling, a good fielder, stays with it.
Boggs uses the center of the diamond and hits it right back to Darling.
Boy, and on a cold night, he's going to feel this.
He's in pretty good position. He got that right on the fingertips. You could see even before he threw it, just kind of flicked that glove as if to say a little stinger there.
Here's Marty Barrett, who's the best bunter on the team. Knight comes up a step about even with the bag at third. Ball one.
You could see him looking around too, Vinny, to see where the defense was. And also, remember, it was an outside pitch that got him the last time, and that's the one pitch he likes to protect himself against. You got to like this guy.
2-0. Those who watch the Red Sox every day, all year long, did not find it that surprising that Marty Barrett would win the MVP. And very humbly, Marty said, hey, there's so much attention paid to Boggs and Rice, and I get all those 3-1 fastballs.
I just can't. I'm riveted to that back foot. It's a definite move. With this shot, you see it, and you ask him why.
2 balls, 1 strike. 1 out, 6th inning, no score. Fouled away. He might have been trying to take a shot to right, and the count 2-2. He hit .367 in the LCS. He had 39 chances without an error. Watch the back foot.
Watch it. There it goes. Now, there has to be a reason, but we can't figure it out.
Just timing mechanism, I guess.
No, he doesn't know why he doesn't know.
No.
That's
2-2.
great. Don't change.
Ball 3. I remember interviewing a pitcher after a shutout once. Before every pitch, he grabbed the back of his shirt. Every pitch. And when I asked him why he did it after the game, he said, I don't do that. I said, you did it every pitch. He said, I didn't know that. 6th inning, 1 out, no score. And Jim Rice, along with his thoughts, he's due to hit 4th in the inning. 3-2. Fastball hit in the air to right center, but Strawberry is going to be there to handle it. 2 down in the 6th. So Barrett going with the pitch the other way, and that'll bring up Bill Buckner.
Now batting, first baseman Bill Buckner.
Bill Buckner grounded into a double play in the 1st inning, and then literally threw his bat at the ball in the 4th inning and singled to left. Got as far as second base on a wild pitch. It's interesting, we're talking a great deal about the Charlie Lau theory of hitting. Buck fouls it away and taking your top hand off the bat after you have made contact and you're through the zone. Walt Reniak, the first base coach, the pride of Natick, Massachusetts, had only 99 at-bats in his major league career, and he's the hitting instructor. And I'm sure happy for him to make the big leagues. So now he can tell Doug Flutie and Joe Coleman to move over.
He's the first guy from that town to make the big leagues.
Make the series.
I mean the World Series.
Yeah. 0-1. Joe Coleman pitched for Detroit, so he got a little taste of big league action.
You know, when you talk about him, how many times at bat in the big leagues, how about when Mike Jorgensen was released by the Cardinals because he couldn't hit, they made him the minor league hitting instructor. So you don't hire a guy by his averages.
No.
It's what he knows.
And what kind of a teacher he is. Do as I say, not what I do. 0-2 the count to Billy Bucks with 2 out in the 6th, no score. Breaking ball, and that got Carter. Gary Carter was bobbing and weaving, digging that thing out.
He's trying to get the low pitch.
At the end of 5 1/2, no score. In the bottom of the 6th inning, no score in the ball game. Keith Hernandez followed by Gary Carter and then Darryl Strawberry. Hernandez flied to center in the 1st inning, fouled out in the right field corner to Dewey Evans in the 3rd. The Mr. Consistency of the New York Mets. Ball 1. To back up the point, in 1984 Keith hit .311. In 1985 he hit .309. So in 1986 he hit .310. 2-0. 94 walks. So Hurst up against a man who knows the strike zone. Bruce has pitched very well. He has limited the Mets to 2 hits while striking out 6.
He thought that was a strike, and so did the bench, but Kibler motioned that the ball was high.
2-0. In there.
Great piece of pitching there. He had to come in with the fastball, but he was going to keep it to the outside part of the plate. He wasn't going to give him a ball he could pull.
2-1. Just missed. 3-1. So Hurst now is behind to a very knowledgeable hitter with Carter and Strawberry coming up. Three balls, 1 strike. And that's what he did all year long. Opens up the inning with a walk. 4 walks given up by Bruce Hurst. And the batter will be Gary Carter. Remember earlier, John McNamara appeared to be upset about Hurst's control, and he had Al Nipper get up in the bullpen. There is no action down there for the moment. Gary Carter grounded to second and hit into a force play. All year long, the big question was, would Carter's knee hold up? And it did. A busted bat hit up the middle for a base hit. Hernandez to second and holding. So Carter shatters his bat and gets a base hit to center.
It's out of the strike zone, and the bat just breaks in half.
How did he break the bat hitting it off the end of the bat? You'd think it would break it when you jam it.
No, end of the bat will do that.
I guess if he can swing it as hard as he can.
He didn't swing that hard at that, though. It just hit right off the end of the bat.
They're just not making trees like they used to. Steve Crawford gets up in the Boston bullpen. 2 on, nobody out. Strawberry, Knight, and Tuffle due up. There's Steve. So first Gedman and now Owen come to the mound to talk to Bruce Hurst. Hernandez at second, Carter at first. Nobody out, no score, 6th inning.
Just setting up who'll be covering in case the ball is hit back to Hurst.
Strawberry struck out in the 2nd inning and walked in the 4th. High pop foul and out of play. Strawberry tried so hard to time that off-speed pitch. Well, you talk about twisting and turning in the wind, and he still couldn't do it. 0-1. Boggs about even with the bag. The outfield is straight away, pinching the middle, so they're giving him the lines. In there. So now he has Strawberry by the neck. 0-2.
Boy, that was a big breaking curveball. That's the kind when you were a kid you called a drop.
Roy Campanella called it public enemy #1.
I agree.
0-2 to Darryl. Got him on the inside corner as Hurst picks up his 7th strikeout and gets Strawberry for the 2nd time tonight.
And usually in a spot like that, you'll see a pitcher work and try to set up a pitch. Not Bruce Hurst. He just went right after him, and then he throws it right there. Big curveball, and I'll tell you, when it breaks that much, that's like a scholarship to broadcasting school.
Yep. One away, and here's Ray Knight. Interestingly, he had an unusual game in July against the Astros. He struck out 4 times against left-handed Jim Deshaies, and in the 10th inning hit a home run against left-handed Frank DePino for a tie and win it 6-5. Hot one to third. Boggs down to second for 1. On to first. Double play. No runs. 1 hit, 1 left. We got a dandy, and we'll be right back after these messages from your local station. At the start of the game, it seemed like a rather insignificant note compared to all the notes we give you throughout the year and throughout the game and throughout the series. But it's true. The first game of the World Series, 9 of the last 14 years, the losing team has scored 2 runs or less. And traditionally, the first game is indeed a pitching battle the last few years.
Well, I think there are a lot of reasons for that, too, Vin. Of course, you can't even talk about it in terms of the LCS, as exciting as that was. But ball players, for one thing, go in the ticket business for the World Series. Guys you never heard from. I know when I played in the one I did, I heard from everybody in the Army except Eisenhower and MacArthur. The only 2 guys that didn't call me for World Series tickets. So that's a distraction. But I tell you, when you begin to settle down and start to play, it'll bust loose.
And remember, the pressure is here. And there'll be a little pressure right now on Ron Darling as he looks down the gun barrel of Jim Rice, opening up the 7th inning. No score. Rice doing what he did so often against the Angels, chasing that breaking ball in the dirt. But if you make a mistake, bingo. 0-1. Each side with 3 hits. 1 ball, 1 strike, and you might have noticed Carter gesture with his arm once for Darling to get his arm up a little bit, dropping it, which is what happens when fatigue begins to set in. The 7th inning. Fouled away, and he really was coming over the top that time after the reminder.
And Carter, as always, he kind of takes a look at those hitters. He wants to see who the peakers are. We watched him a couple times during our regular game of the week, and
hey, by the way,
it's a good
how
habit.
about that story about Hernandez saying to him, if you call another fastball, we'll go at it right here and now.
Well, in the pregame show, it's great he explained it because Keith was trying to break some tension, but he did tell him that.
He was probably trying to break some tension today, but at the moment he was ready to fight him. Pitch inside. It was a good story anyway, breaking tension. I bet he meant it, because immediately Orozco threw nothing but sliders and struck out Kevin Bass, and it was over.
Well, he said as long as it was going along, it was okay, but when the tying run got on, that's enough.
2-2. Big overhand jug in the dirt. And I was wondering whether Kibler was going to look at that, and he'll throw it out. Meanwhile, he came to New York, but not to play, and that's a tragedy. Tom Seaver, now with the Red Sox, has a date with surgery. Can't make it. Would that have been a story? Well, we have stories galore. 3-2. Missed down and in with the pitch, and that's a walk to Jim Rice. The second pass given up by Ron Darling.
Stepping up to the plate, right fielder, Dwight.
Now he has to face Dwight Evans. Let's take a look at Carter and his work behind the plate.
Well, he's looking all over now. You see Wigwag. Watch him look at first base now. He's checking everything and then finally picks up the ball.
So Rice is aboard with the walk. Dwight Evans had a look at Latchman down at third to see if there might be a play aboard. Evans a long out to deep left center, and we truly believe the wind cut down a home run. And then in the 4th inning, he plied to left. Way out in front of that. Boy, that was a great move. And then you talk about pulling the string. He jerked his chain. 0-1.
Well, Evans will look for a pitch. You remember in Fenway when he hit the home run in that big game, he said, I was sitting on it, and if he gets it, he can pop it out of here. It's always, well, that game within a game we're talking about.
Rice at first, held on by Hernandez. Nobody out in the 7th, no score. Time. When you look at Dwight Evans up there, you have to remember he belongs in the Red Sox history book. Only Carl Yastrzemski, the great Yaz, and Bobby Doerr have played more games in a Boston uniform. kid out of Santa Monica, Dewey Evans.
He can do a lot of things.
Boy from Honolulu by way of Millbury. Fouled off. 0-2. On deck, waiting his turn to have a rip, Rich Gedman. And again, we'll have that wonderful battle of the former high school kids, Darling and Gedman. 0-2. Darling, his wife, a most successful model in New York. Handsome kid. Majored in Southeastern Asian history when he was at Yale. Rice holds, and it's in the dirt, squirting over to the backstop, and finally run down by Carter. So a big break. They get Rice to second with nobody out. They take the force play away from the Mets, and they count 1-2 to Evans.
There's nothing you can do on this. A 55-footer, and it hits Carter right in the middle of the protector, a little bit to the left. Once again, it's that breaking pitch, and you can see Evans, being the heads-up batter he is, he says, go to second, and he kind of push. Carter's trying to get the ball, but he runs into Evans. You don't know where that ball is when it comes off you.
I'll tell you what was so obvious. Darling opened up so much. His left shoulder came out as he was making that pitch. He had to come up short. That's exactly what he did. It was his left shoulder that caused all the trouble. A comebacker. Darling will hold Rice and go to first. In other words, if you and I are looking at each other, and let's just say I'm left-handed. If I want to throw a punch at you, if I pull my right shoulder out, I'm going to be short. I can't reach it. In order for me to hit you, I have to keep my right shoulder in, and now I get to you. And that's what he did. His shoulder was so wide open, he had to throw the ball in front of the plate.
Well, that's the first thing that pitching coaches always look when guys get in trouble. Is he flying open with the shoulder? It goes for a pitcher, it goes for a hitter. That could be a key play right there. Did not pick up the base with the out.
So here is Rich Gedman. Popped up and struck out against his old high school foe and hits a ground ball right through Tuffle. Here comes Rice around third to throw by Strawberry. He's in there. Down to second goes Gedman. And Tuffle was fooled by the bounce. And at home plate, a collision and timeout. Darling was going behind the plate to back up on the throw. And he arrived at the same time.
Jim Rice, it's his hand, it looks like, too, and Darling is down.
It was Henderson who was coming up. Henderson wanted to give a sign and crashed into Darling. Henderson, the on-deck hitter, number 40.
Oh, yeah, I see it now.
He's the man who got hurt. And Darling was in the right place, but up against the wrong man. He was just trying to back up, and the on-deck hitter was trying to indicate slide or no slide, and you had a remarkable collision. And Henderson hurting that right hand and wrist. We'll see whether he can continue or not. Remember, Tony Armas has a bad ankle. Here's the play again. Watch. See, Henderson and Darling have already hit each other because Darling was in motion to get behind the plate, and Henderson was trying to get up there and indicate to Rice whether to slide or not. Boy, there's one for the books.
That is really a freaky play.
Meanwhile, Tuffle will draw an error, completely fooled on the erratic bounce. There's the collision. Now let's take a look at the ground ball, and you'll see what happened to Tuffle.
He's down there, just didn't come up. We talked about the possibility of the bad hops, and he was there in front of it. And the throw, it misses the cutoff man. That cost him a base, and the man who showed real disgust was Hernandez, the cutoff man. Because now one out, double play is not in order, a man in scoring position, so one error shows up and the other error will not show up in the box score, but that's a big base that Gedman was able to pick up.
Well, Henderson, who looks like the truck broke down on the way to the ballpark, is going to try and stay in there.
That was a freaky play.
I've never seen it. I've heard Terry Harper of the Atlanta Braves dislocated a shoulder trying to wave a runner home while he was the on-deck hitter, as we see the ball go through Tuffle again. That's the first time I've seen the on-deck hitter and the pitcher have a head-on collision. There they go. Heels over tea kettle. And right down the alley comes Rice with the run, and it is 1-0 Red Sox. And very importantly, you have Gedman at second base. So instead of 2 out and a runner at third, 1 out, a run in, and a runner at second, and Henderson trying to pick him up.
And the Mets have the reputation of manufacturing runs, but the Red Sox just did it with a walk, wild pitch, error.
And Carter now asking for time. He might be counseling Darling, might be thinking about changing signs, but I think he's also trying to give Darling a chance to pull himself together. It was Henderson who appeared to be the more injured of the two. It was his right hand and wrist, but Darling took a pretty good blindside hit as he was in motion trying to get behind the plate to back up. Dave Henderson flied to center and singled to center, 1 for 2. 1-0 Red Sox, 7th inning. Fouled away. And remember, tomorrow night it's the dream matchup. Dwight Gooden and Roger Clemens.
Roger Clemens had a great line as we look at Gooden when they asked him about pitching against Gooden. Clemens says, I'm not pitching against Gooden. I'm pitching for the Red Sox against the Mets.
0-1 to count. Fouled away. That line is more applicable, however, in the American League than in the National League, because he will be pitching to Gooden just as Dwight will be pitching to him. 0-2. Dave Henderson. Boy, what a glorious moment, huh? After the ball that Grich hit went off his glove over the fence, he comes back to hit that big one in the ninth. Check, 1-2.